Alright guys, today we're going to be establishing exactly how long that Astolfo's bussy truly is. Alright, first things first, we need to establish exactly what a bussy is. Now, a lot of people like to define the bussy as being the rectum, or for those of you who don't know what that is, in more colloquial terms, the shitter. Now, your average shitter has a depth of about 10 to 15 centimeters, but ultimately describing the bussy inside of this way is a little bit of an arbitrary limitation, and thus that makes answering this a whole lot more difficult. Since the digestive system of human beings is essentially just one long tube, you could argue that the entire thing is in fact the bussy, at which point Astolfo's one would probably be close to around 30 feet long. But in practical terms, that doesn't even matter because even the hardest jelker does not have a penis close to 30 feet long. But Astolfo isn't from the real world, he's from the fate world, where just about anything goes. So I really would not be surprised if somebody's dick was their Nobel Phantasm, allowing it to expand to an infinite length and then be used as a whip or a lasso or some shit. But assuming that this was the case, then your dick would just come out the other side of him, at which point we'd then have to claim that the bussy is actually infinite times long, at which point there would cease to be a tunnel guiding it. So at that point there's no guarantee that it is just going to follow the circumference of the Earth. It can go in any number of directions, infinitely exploring the 3D space, at which point we then have to consider volume as well. Then the bussy stops becoming a thing of physicality that we can comprehend with our normal minds simply by observing it with our eyes. It goes down to the molecular level, while also consuming all space in the process. In that sense, it's similar to a black hole, pun notwithstanding, but it's very true. If it can take up every single space inside of the universe, then its mass must be infinite, causing his bussy to form a singularity, or at least it would, assuming that all this matter was actually within his body, but it's not. Astolfo's bussy existing around us at all moments in time is more of a matter of fact. In the end, the mass actually does not get redistributed, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't have any metaphysical aspects to it, because really when you think about it, Astolfo's bussy has always existed and always will exist. It transcends time and physicality, because what it represents is not space, but rather the lack of space. Now, of course, technically there's always something inside of the air filling up the void, but when talking purely about solids that we can touch as human beings, that is the case. So in this sense, Astolfo's bussy really expands throughout the entire universe as a gas, which could actually potentially mean that it is affected by the gravity of the Earth, at which point his bussy would in fact not be able to surpass the atmosphere. Not to say that it hasn't traveled into space though, because astronauts would have taken it up there in their spaceships and in their spacesuits as a part of the air. It's also visited the deepest parts of the Earth in the Mariana Trench. And when you think about it, if it truly acts as a gas, then that means that we're all breathing in his bussy non-stop, which brings us to our conclusion, which is to say that Astolfo's bussy is not simply a place that can be contained within him. Its depth goes far beyond what we can even imagine. It transcends dimensions, it transcends time and also space. But most importantly, it transcends us as human beings, because it is inside of us. It is inside of me, and it is inside of you. Normally, we'd be inside of him, and in his bussy, which isn't really that gay. But sadly, since we now have another man inside of us, that actually does kind of make us gay. But perhaps more concerning is the fact that Astolfo's bussy is not simply limited to Astolfo himself, but rather, we are Astolfo's bussy.